Please welcome to the stage Rich Preece, Vice President and Accountant Division Leader, Intuit QuickBooks.
Hello, hello. A very, very big welcome. Thank you very much. A very, very big welcome to the 4th annual QuickBooks Connect. This event is completely sold out. Tomorrow, we will actually have almost 5,000 accountants, small businesses, self-employed, and developers with us. But today, it's all about us. Today, it's Accountant Day, so today, it's our day. Now, let me just start by introducing myself. I'm Rich Preece. I lead the accountant group within QuickBooks. Now, what does that actually mean? What it means is my team and I are responsible for QBOA, QuickBooks Online Accountant. Thank you. You know, you're in good company because there's 500,000 accountants globally who are using QBOA. So we are very privileged, and we understand what that means in terms of making it better every day. Also, we're responsible for the Pro Advisor program, and we have over 330,000 Pro Advisors globally. And also all of the education and training. And so in the group that I am privileged to lead, we have over 300 individuals who are completely dedicated to you, completely dedicated to accountants, and our sole metric of success is your success. And so that is what we do every day. That's what I and my team are responsible for. Now, let me just ask, show of hands, who's been to QuickBooks Connect before? Wow, look at that. I would say about 2/3 of the room. So for those of you that have been before, what you know is the reason to be here is to inspire, to learn, and to connect. Those are the 3 purposes of QuickBooks Connect. And if we think about what the next 3 days actually look like, we can see here that today is the Accountant Day. Now, after the morning session, which I'll introduce in a moment, there is a fantastic series of breakout sessions throughout the end of the morning and the afternoon. We actually have almost 90 breakout sessions throughout the next 3 days. Now, those are just a sampling that you can see there under Accountant Day. But I draw your attention to, if you're still billing by the hour, I absolutely would go to the pricing strategies. If you're not serving the self-employed market, I'll tell you that at Intuit, the fastest growing customer segment we have is self-employed. And so that is absolutely a session I would go to. And then any of the others as well, but there's almost 90, so pick carefully. If we look at tomorrow, we're going to kick the day off tomorrow with Brad Smith, who is our Intuit CEO. And he's going to be followed by Sasan Gadadzi. Now, Sasan is the general manager globally of QuickBooks. And Sasan's actually going to be doing some product demos from stage and announcing what's new in QBO. So that's going to be very exciting. Then we have some guest speakers, folks like Tyra Banks, who is going to be talking about brand, the importance of building a brand and how you build a brand. Folks like Shauna, who's going to be coming forward to talk about the importance of taking risks. Shauna actually is responsible for creating Grey's Anatomy and other very popular shows. And then as you can see, there's lots more breakout sessions, and they run through Friday. Now, if we talk about this morning's session, what are we going to do for the next 90 minutes? We've got an exciting 90 minutes planned. I'm just going to spend the first 5 or 6 minutes touching on some research that we kicked off in the summer. We did some research with a group called Emergent Research, where we wanted to understand what are the trends in terms of the next generation of accountants. Who are they and what are they looking for? And I'm just going to touch on a couple of insights that I think you'll find valuable. Then I'm going to spend about 15 or 20 minutes in the product. And so what I want to do is share with you what is our product vision for QBOA. How do we pay that off today to make sure that you're actually using the good features and the benefits today? What are we announcing today? So we've got a couple of exciting announcements. And then where are we going in the future? We recognize that everyone in this room is part of the QuickBooks family. And so we want to tell you what that roadmap is, and we want to tell you where we're going. Then we're going to have the Firm of the Future winner. And so we've got the 4 finalists in the room with us. This is awesome. You know, I see pom-poms, I see flags, I see people have brought some fun stuff. So that's going to be fantastic, and so we will announce the winner. We will show you across 4 countries the finalists. We're going to do a fireside chat with the winner to understand what actually makes the firm of the future. And then Gail Perry is going to come out to close the morning out with an awesome session about the most powerful women in accounting for 2017. Absolutely. So that is the next 90 minutes. Let's start by just touching on the research that I spoke to. So again, the purpose of this research, just to pause, and this is brand new, sort of hot off the presses in the last couple of months, is we wanted to say that we know that the next group of folks who are coming into the industry are probably going to be a little bit different and expect something different. And if we, as accounting professionals and bookkeepers, don't understand what they're looking for, we probably are not going to attract them. And so that was the purpose. Now, if we start at the top, the good news is that you can see here that as a degree, accounting is on the rise. So it's up from 12th in 2000 to the 3rd most popular degree. And so that's great. There's going to be a large number of these folks coming through. Now, next question is, well, what's actually driving that? Well, the great news is, in the accounting profession, it's actually the 2nd highest median salary after engineering. And so that is obviously something which is going to continue to drive a wave of folks to adopt accounting. And then, if we look at, there's a number of people who are taking a degree, but how many people are actually coming out of the system? So how many people are entering the workforce? And it's going to be about 280,000 in 2017. And if you can see, it's almost double where we were in the year 2000. And so there is an increasing number of folks coming out of university, coming out of education into our industry. And one of the very exciting stats is, when we look at those numbers, 54% of accounting graduates are women, which is fantastic as well. And if we just look back as recently as 2014, then a separate survey showed that only 19% of partners at CPA firms were women. And so the good news is, as we move forward just 3 years, we can see those changes happening, which is great. Now, when we asked these particular folks who are coming out, who are graduating, exactly what is it you're looking for when you're looking for the right firm for you, they gave us 4 answers. The first one was mentoring. And when we asked them to explain what they meant by mentoring, they said, when I join the right firm for me, I expect that that firm's going to invest in me and help me be better every day. And so whether that is providing me with a mentor, whether it's somebody that is giving me just constant feedback about sort of where I should be working, you know, where I'm doing good, where there's opportunity, like that is a critical component. So again, as you're talking to these folks, recognize that's in their head. The second thing is networking. And this was an interesting one. What they actually told us was that they don't want to join a single entity. For folks now coming out in terms of the next generation, they see everything as sort of merged together as one. And so whether you have a firm which is part of a much larger group, absolutely speak to the fact that it's an ecosystem, it's a large group. Or if you're an individual entity, and perhaps you're in a small town, speak about what you do in the community and speak about how you're a part of the community. Because again, they look at single entity versus networking, and they very much now want to be part of something larger than themselves. The next thing is real-world experience, and the way that they vocalized this to us was to say, I don't want to be in the back office. They said, I want to be client-facing, and when we asked them, why is that so important to you, they said, because it's the only way I can understand the impact of my work. And so if it's a role where I'm not getting to interact with clients, then I'm not really interested, and I'm going to look at the next thing. And then last but not least is flexibility. There's a like it or not reality that these folks today who are graduating from university are not sold by a 9 to 5. They are not sold by a static location where there's no flexibility. What they're looking to do is work hard and learn, but they want that flexibility, whether that looks like they want to live in a city and they're going to work from home a couple of days a week, whether it looks like they'd rather get into the office at 7 a.m. to beat the commute and leave at 3 or 4. There's just some flexibility they're looking for. And so these are the 4 things they are essentially interviewing you when they're trying to learn and understand if your firm is the right fit. So let's take a quick look. So why would they choose you? And we're going to take a look at just some job postings that we've just pulled here in the last couple of days. So you can see here, this is an accounts receivable job in San Jose, hopefully not for a firm, anybody in the room. And you can see the first line there, are you a dynamic AR and billing specialist? Well, I would ask you, is there such thing as a dynamic billing specialist? And so the person reading that now probably moves on to the next ad. Now, in the next ad, you can see it's sort of equally inspiring, asking questions like, hey, you're going to get to work on general ledger accounting, financial statement prediction, 7 years experience. You can see somebody's not probably enormously excited at this point, and the list goes on. This one is so small it's hard to read. Here you get to review invoices. You get to charge expenses, and you get to process weekly vendor payments. I'm all in. I'm all in. Where do I sign? So recognizing that many of you may be doing this today while trying to attract those next generation accountants, also recognize what some other folks in the industry are doing. And so let's look at KPMG and how they are trying to attract the exact same individuals and the top folks. You can see here, they've gone to a different level. They're actually speaking to, there's a higher purpose. So they say, join KPMG, help farms grow. When family and farm reach, when they need loans, KPMG will work with a credit system to help secure them. They then move on to talk about, we make movies. Now, again, it's in the interest of filmmaking and its clients, and it's an industry that they specialize in. And then the last example is we mend little hearts. So our work helps universities secure grant funding for heart disease research. But you can see here that if you saw both sets of ads, you'd probably be more inclined to take a closer look at KPMG than you would the historic. So lesson number one is, when you're recruiting, recognize what they're looking for and try to think about how you're going to attract them in terms of how it used to be and then how the world is changing. And then secondly, very briefly, and this was a surprise to us, when we interviewed these folks, they just talked all the time about collaboration. And when we said, well, what do you mean about collaboration? They talked about how in their lives today, they use a series of apps. And these were just some of the apps, but these were certainly the ones that they talked about the most. And they use these apps to collaborate. And they saw no differential between their personal lives and their working lives. And so they talked about how in an interview situation, if a firm talks about how, of course, we use Slack, and of course we use Google Docs, and when we work on projects together, of course we use Trello, then that's a company that feels like them. They see their reflection in that company. Now, likewise, when they say, hey, do you mind if I share my resume through Google Docs, and somebody says, what's Google Docs? That's probably the end of the interview. And so I would encourage you to think about, in your firms, are you adopting these types of tools? Because A, they're great tools, but B, it's actually how you're going to attract as well the next generation of accountants. So just the quick summary from that research and 2 takeaways. The first takeaway is, again, think about your hiring strategy. Think about the way that you try to attract them, and think about those 4 things that they're looking for. And then secondly, think about collaboration and think about the way you're going to communicate to them, because they're looking for something in you, and if they don't see it, they're going to move on to the next person. And this is all about hiring the best of the best over the next 5 years. Now, let me change gears here for a second, and now I'm going to talk a little bit about QuickBooks, and in a moment I'm going to get into some product work. So we are very fortunate and very humbled to continue to grow as fast as we have done. These were our numbers that we publicly announced on July 31st, so just a few months ago. And you can see here we announced that we now have almost 2.4 million QBO subscribers across the globe. Thank you. In large part because of the support of the accounting and bookkeeping community, so a huge thank you. But I draw your attention to a couple of things. First of all, in that number, we passed the 500,000 threshold for QBO customers outside of the US. So truly the global flywheel now is well underway. And secondly, you can see that gray part of the bar, which is growing quickly. That's those self-employed folks I mentioned earlier. And so we now have over 390,000 self-employed individuals using QBO, and as I mentioned, it is absolutely the fastest part of our ecosystem in terms of growth. So again, I keep encouraging you, if you're not supporting self-employed clients, that is a market that will continue to expand, and so take away in the next couple of days, really think about what you might be able to do differently. And then last but not least, you can see here, we've passed that threshold of more than half of them we've connected to an accountant. Now, that's extremely important because remember, most of the QuickBooks customers that come to us don't actually come through an accountant. They come through a direct channel. So they see a TV commercial, they come to our website. And then the first thing we do is say, we think small businesses are more successful when they work with an accountant, and we ask them if they have an accountant. So this number just last year was actually at 43%. And so it's gone from 43 to 53 in the last 12 months, and we will continue to work hard on the other 47% who are not working with an accountant or bookkeeper, because we so firmly believe that the connection makes both successful. Thank you. Now, if I move on a little bit to our product vision, it is extremely clear, and these words are picked very consciously. We want QBOA, that product that many of you use, we want it to be the one place to grow and manage all of your clients and all of your practice. We know that today there are lots of different tools that you use, lots of different logins, lots of different third-party apps, and it's only getting worse. And so what we want to do is have a platform where there's certain things that we do very well on that platform, but there's many things that other people do very well, and they join that platform to enable that one place for you. So whether it's tax, whether it's payroll, whether it's third-party apps, it all sits on top of that platform. And then how do we pay off, particularly the grow and the manage clients and practice? And how we pay it off is through 3 strategies. The first one, which I'll go to in a moment, is the Find a Pro Advisor site. And this is where we do everything we can to connect small businesses with a pro advisor. The second one is practice management. Now, we just launched this functionality about 4 months ago in the product, and I'll demo that for you, and I'll demo what's coming next as well. And then the third piece of this is apps, and this is the developer network, which is enormously important to us and to you. And there's over 500 apps now as part of the QuickBooks Online ecosystem. So if we start here with Find a Pro Advisor, and by the way, show of hands, who is a pro advisor in the room? Okay, awesome. So a really good number of people are a pro advisor. So thank you. Thank you. Who is a, second question, who is a certified pro advisor? Okay, excellent. So I would say most of the group. You have to be a certified pro advisor to be on this platform. And so if you're not a certified pro advisor, I would absolutely suggest you take the training. It's free. There's a test at the end. You have to pass the test, but then you get to go on the platform. There's only 50,000 of the 330,000 that are certified. So this platform has 50,000 pro advisors on it. And then if we think about the leads, and so this is the website itself. If we think about the leads, there's over 1,000 leads a day. Now, that means that 1,000 times a day, a small business comes to this particular website. They say, I would like to find a pro advisor through this particular website. And 1,000 times a day, we are able to find them, one of you, and we're able to make that connection. Now, just 12 months ago, that number was 240 leads a day. So it has quadrupled in the last year. And we know actually that this is significantly bigger than any other platform globally connecting small businesses and accountants. Now, it's so important to us because of this particular stat. And this is a stat which we say every single time we're on a stage because we believe it so much, which is research shows that 89% of small businesses tell us that they are more successful when they work with you. And so we know for a fact that when we make that connection, it actually drives their success. And last year alone, I mentioned those impressive numbers of 1,000 leads, but over 1 million small businesses came to this platform looking for one of you. And so this is an absolute juggernaut of a platform. So again, if you are certified, make sure you're on it. If you're not certified, get certified, and then make sure you're on it. So I'm going to show you a little bit about what it looks like today and then where we're going. So this is the website today, and so if you went there right now, this is what you would see. Now, if you're a small business and you're searching for an accounting professional in San Jose, the experience that you will get is this. And so you will basically search for an accounting professional in San Jose. There's an algorithm that sits beneath this trying to match exactly what we know about the firm with exactly what we know about the small business, and then you will see a list of accountants. And it may look something like this, and you can see photographs, you can see reviews. Now, I must admit, one accountant stands out on this page for me. Looks like the obvious choice. But joking aside, there's two things that we learn. We do thousands of what we call Follow Me Homes every year, which is essentially we watch small businesses using our product, and we learn what they do even more than what they tell us. And what they do is, first of all, if you don't have a photograph, they will immediately not pick you. So the number one, as strange as it sounds, if there's a list of 5 different accountants who are a good match for you and one doesn't have a photograph, they will never pick that individual. The second thing they do is look for social evidence. And so if everybody else has reviews and you don't, in the same way I don't here, again, I've immediately been dismissed. And so those two things, photograph and social reviews, you just have to ask your existing clients to submit reviews. And so it's not difficult, it's just difficult asking them that first time. And so if you can get over that, then obviously you can get some reviews. And then in this instance, I'm a pro advisor, I'm going to go into QBOA, and I'm actually going to say, well, how can I actually make my profile better? Now, what's cool, for those of you that haven't seen this, what's particularly good is it almost has a sort of a LinkedIn feel about it at the top there. It's going to tell me exactly how many people have viewed my profile in the last 30 days, and how many leads do I have. But also, it's going to, on the right-hand side, give me a suggestion of how to improve my profile. And somewhat obviously, the suggestion here, of course, is that I need reviews. That's the biggest thing right now that's hurting my profile. And so, again, if you haven't gone into your QBOA and you haven't set up your profile or even just checked your profile to make sure that you're following the suggestions, I highly suggest you do. Obviously, you can put here languages, industry served, etc. So that's how it looks today, and it's great. As I said, it's 4 times bigger than it was a year ago, and we're going to keep investing. But importantly, what's next? Where are we going? Well, we know that, and I'll throw a couple of stats at you, that 60% of all firms are multi-service firms. Now, what that means is they offer accounting, bookkeeping, and tax. And in those firms, more than 50% of revenue comes from tax. Now, we also know that during tax season, that number I shared that we get about 1,000 leads a day spikes hugely. And so we know that during tax season, there is obviously an elevated number of small businesses coming to this website looking for a tax professional. And so what we're doing in December, we're going to launch this, is you will see us actually for a sort of seasonal period really help to focus more on tax. And so we will help folks coming to the website who we know more of them are looking for a tax professional. We'll make it clearer if they're looking for tax or accounting and bookkeeping. And then, assuming they're looking for tax, they're going to get an experience where they're going to see those tax experts. And so again, you have set this up, remember, in your profile. And so we've asked you sort of in order, where do you specialize? And so if you specialize in tax, you're able to obviously tell us that. And then that changes the way that we search and the way that we connect. So look out for that. That's coming in late December. But also, I want to give you a sneak peek into, good, thank you. I want to give you a sneak peek into where are we heading directionally. And so again, there's no date associated with the next thing I'm going to show you, but it is how we're thinking about building this out and where we're going. And specifically, it's leads and lead management. And so it's great that we provide 1,000 leads a day, but then you have the challenge of actually trying to manage those leads. And so what we're going to do, as you can see here, is look into how can we actually add a section for leads, how can we make it very clear what leads you have, who you've connected to, how long it's been, what the transcript is of that connection. And then in the example here of Austin, if I click on Austin, I immediately go into an experience where, first of all, I can reply, all from within QBOA. Remember that one-place vision. This is how we're paying it off. Next thing is I can share documents. So possibly I want an engagement letter. Well, I can put that right in QBOA, and that's going to get sent out to Austin. I can then invite Austin to QBO. I can onboard Austin, and then the process is complete. And so again, think about that one-place vision. That's what we're going to, and that's where we're heading. Thank you. Now, I am equally as excited about practice management. Now, practice management, I think, actually was probably the missing piece of the puzzle. When I think about that commitment we had to accountants, again, one place to help you grow and manage all of your clients and all of your practice, I'm not sure we were actually delivering that for you, so I apologize. But the great news is we certainly understood that about 12 or 18 months ago, and we worked very hard to build out practice management. And we launched this about 4 months ago. And so what I'm going to show you in a moment, we launched 4 months ago. Within those 4 months, we now have 15,000 accountants who are using this. And the stat that we're probably most proud of is, of those 15,000, when we look back, 90% of them who come and use it once come back and continue to use it more and more and more. And so obviously the question is always, are you solving a problem? And then is it a problem which is actually something people are going to adopt? And the answer is yes and yes. And let me show you a little bit here of what that looks like. So if we can switch to the laptop view, perfect. And so here I'm inside QBOA. And so the work tab here is practice management. And so first of all, let me explain what this really is. It's a workflow tool. And so essentially, you set it up by creating projects. Any of these projects I've already created in my own little dashboard here. And then you can add tasks to those projects. And so here, I've spent the time, maybe 2 or 3 hours creating all of these projects. But the power here is, once I've done that, I can now cut by client and by employee the work. And so let's say, for example, that Spicy Olives is coming in for a client meeting in the next couple of weeks. I want to understand what work is overdue, what work is due this week, what work is due next week. And so I can simply select Spicy Olives. And now I get a cut of only the view of Spicy Olives, which is great. Now, what if I'm an individual at a firm and I just want to look at the actual clients that I represent? So at any given morning, if you have a daily stand-up perhaps in your firm, you can look at this and by client you can say, okay, what work have we assigned? Who's doing what? When does it have to be done by? One of the things that we love the most about this is something called deep links. And so this is going to save you a ton of time. And so in this example, you can see here that Bistro Miguel, there's some unaccepted transactions. Now, in the past, I'd have had to have opened up that client file, and I'd have had to have worked my way through to transactions. Now, with a single click, it's going to flip around QBOA, it's going to go to QBO, and it's going to go to the specific client and the specific page in QBO where I can actually take care of that task. And as I go back, I'm going to give you just one more example of that. It's the same thing, just again as a second example, with payroll. And so payroll is something I may be running every couple of weeks. In the past, I open up the client file, I work my way all the way down to payroll. Now it's a single click, and again, same thing again. In this case, it's a different client, and then boom, it's going to take me right to the area where my single task is to run payroll. And so those deep links are going to save you a lot of time, and we're going to continue to add to those deep links. Now, if I go back here for a second, what I want to do is share with you some of the things we've added in the last 4 or 5 weeks. We are literally improving this every single week. And we know when we put this out there that it wasn't perfect, and we appreciated your feedback. I will draw your attention. You see this little button up here, Send Feedback? For those of you that sent feedback, thank you. That feedback goes directly to our engineering and product teams, and we read every single piece of feedback, and that is how we actually decide on prioritization. And so thank you for that, and if you didn't know that button was there, then please feel free to send us feedback anytime. And essentially what that feedback told us was a few different things. The first thing it told us was, hey, this is kind of cool, I like it, but a lot of the work I do is recurring work. And so it means that running payroll is a great example. I don't want to have to set it up every time. And so you can see this little button now that says repeat. And so this was launched in the last couple of weeks. And so now it's very easy. You set it up once, you repeat it, you pick the date range, you pick when it ends, you're done. So thank you for the feedback. We fixed that. The next thing that we did was we got the feedback that a lot of the projects and tasks I set up are actually similar for different clients. And so it's time-consuming that you make me do the same thing. So you can see here, and this is just in the last week or two, this new button, Duplicate. And so when I click on Duplicate, now it's the exact set of projects, exact set of tasks. All I have to do is change the client, pick a different client, and so now I've duplicated that workflow. The next thing I'll show you real quick is that if I want to create a client request, and so this was in here from the start, which was awesome, was I can simply send, inside QBOA, I can simply send a note to a client saying I need XYZ documents. And when they send it back, they get a message in their QBO account that says I'm asking them for that. And they can reply from within QBO, and it comes back to me in QBOA. Again, that's the one place. That's great, but what you can do now is it doesn't have to be a QBO client. Again, we want a platform that works for you, not works only for us. And so now, if you pick a client that isn't a QBO client, you can still send them a request. Now, it's going to go to their email, because obviously we don't have integration into different pieces of software, but they're still going to get that request. That request is still going to come back to you, and you can still put it back in practice management. So our commitment is, it's your firm, all clients. Thank you. And then last but not least, and then I'm going to show you where we're going next, is the list view. And so another piece of feedback we got is, this is great, but my world doesn't exist in 30-day bursts. It sometimes needs to look out a little further. So we added this list view. So this list view can scroll as long as you want. You can set a date range. You can set a status of, is it work done? Is it work in progress? You can set a status by client, by employee. So this just means that you don't have to look at things in 30-day bursts. You can look out for months or weeks, whatever you choose. So that was also released just in the last couple of weeks. Now, with that said, that's exciting, and that's all live in the product today. But what's equally exciting is where we're heading. And so let me show you the look ahead. Let's see here. All right, so where are we heading? And again, this now is sort of directionally where we're heading. There's no specific dates, but this is what we're thinking of. This is how we're working as a team right now and what we're working towards. So the first thing you can see is new insights above the dashboard. And so these insights, some are coming from QuickBooks, but most are coming from third parties. And so these are the apps that you know and love. And so we integrate with those apps so they can bring insights to you as well. Now, very deliberately, what we're going to do is give you the ability to say, well, look, this is good, but I want to decide, is this something I always want to just add it to my dashboard, never add it to my dashboard? So we just want to give you the flexibility. We don't want to clutter your workflow, but we want to give you the ability to see insights coming from third-party apps, and then you can decide if that's something that lives within that workflow that you have. And so that's going to be a big help. Now, in this instance, we actually have an insight from QBO on heart-in hardware. And so what you might do is go ahead and say, I'm going to take a click at that. That's interesting. Now, inside the QBO file, we're going to say that we've noticed that while heart-in hardware had a fantastic holiday quarter, it actually wasn't as fantastic as certain others, similar businesses. They actually had an even better holiday quarter. And we know that because we have almost 2.4 million small businesses using QBO, and if we anonymize the data, we can actually give you the power of all of that data so you can be more successful in helping your client be more successful. So that's what we want to do. We want to essentially empower you to be the biggest accounting firm in the world through access to the data, anonymized data, and it will give you that step up, and it will give your small businesses that step up. So in this instance, I say, this is kind of interesting. I want to take a closer look. And when I take a closer look, you can see here industry insights. And so what's great is it's going to give me a click down on next holiday season, what should I do? Because it's one step to say it wasn't as good as it could have been, but it's a much better step to say, well, here's how it could have been better. And you can also see here at the very top, query the power of QuickBooks. And so what we actually aspire to have in the future, again, is almost a database that you can query where the power of that one small business essentially leverages the power of millions of other small businesses, and everybody gets more successful within the ecosystem. And so that's industry insights, and that's one of the areas where we're working on. You like it? Excellent. Good stuff. If we go back to the dashboard, another area is, I talked a lot about Slack earlier. You know, just by a show of hands, who here actually uses Slack? Okay, that's great. I'd say maybe about 30%, 35%. So we know the importance, because you told us in the feedback, that when you think about collaboration, you think about Slack. So we're going to build Slack into practice management. And so here's what that will look like. You can actually set up a project or a task. You can actually set Slack reminders. You can assign it to the right folks in your particular firm, and then they will actually see those Slack reminders. And so that will come right into Slack, and then that will feed right back into practice management again when they're done. So again, truly that one place where you don't have to continuously go to other places. It all works seamlessly together. Thank you. And then last but not least, on where we're heading in practice management, we also recognize that the success of your small businesses is key, but the success of your firm is also key. So firm-level KPIs. And so in this instance, we want to actually be able to raise to you that at your firm, when we look across your employees, we actually think there may be some capacity there. Now, you will know better than us, again, so this is just a suggestion, but we think you may have more bandwidth to take on clients based on looking at the data inside practice management about sort of who is doing what. And then equally importantly, when we look at the type of work you're doing, and then when we look at the type of invoices you're sending, we're going to try to help you understand what type of work that you're doing is most profitable. And so you have a grasp on, if you do take on one more client, what type of client do you want? So hopefully it's the most profitable client. And so that is a little bit of a key and a little bit of an insight into practice management today and specifically where we're heading. Thank you. And then finally, that third pillar, when I talk about the vision and delivering for that vision, that one place, again, that one place doesn't mean we're solving all of the problems. It means that we have tremendous partners in our app partners. And so when we think about that, let me show you again. I'm going to go back to the product. This actually launched just a few weeks ago, and then I'm going to announce something in a moment. But just a few weeks ago, we added this tab called the Apps tab. Now, here's the problem that we heard from you guys. What we heard was, thank you for adding 500 apps to the QBO ecosystem. That's made it easy. I don't know which ones to recommend. And then my clients don't really know any more than I do about which ones they should select. And then the problem that I have is even if I know which one to recommend, they now have to select the app. They have to provision the app. They are the administrator, and then they pay for the app. And so essentially, I have to be hands-off, and this isn't an easy process. So what we did was added this Apps tab, and we provide a curated list of apps for accountants that say, these are the apps that are most successful working with and for accountants. These are the apps that are most successful with your clients. There's a whole list here. This just happens to be the home page. And so first of all, we solve that problem of curated apps. The next thing is you now can provision one of these apps, so you can set it up for your client. You can set yourself as the administrator. The client can be completely hands-off. So you now can do all of that work yourself. You can look at what we recommend, and if you choose to do it, you can actually control that whole experience. And then if I go back to the slides, the thing that we're actually announcing today is that the final piece of that puzzle is for those who offer value billing and for those on wholesale billing, you can now actually have the bill go to you if you choose to, or the client. So it's entirely up to you, but if you don't want the client to get a separate bill, you can get the bill go to you, and it's going to be heavily discounted in the same way that we heavily discount all of the QBO offerings for accountants. Now, for those of you taking photographs, this is going to be a beta for the next 6 to 8 weeks, and we're only going to let 200 accountants into that beta just to make sure that the water's flowing through the pipes. And so if you go to that website and sign up, you can absolutely join that beta, and you'll start to get that experience in the coming days. If not, we'll let you know that you're on the waiting list, and we'll let you know exactly when it's released into production. And so we'd love to have you in the beta. You'll have access to those discounted prices right away, and then again, everyone will experience that just in the coming weeks. So, in sort of summarizing, we have an incredibly clear vision. It is the one place to grow and manage all of your clients and all of your practice. We are dedicated to helping you grow through Find a Pro Advisor and helping you manage your clients and your practice through practice management. As you can see, we know where we are today and we know where we're going. We welcome your feedback, but we're going to continue on that journey as quickly as possible, and our sole metric is your success.